Hi, this is Robbie Earhart with Mighty House Home Improvement and Clutter Clarity, and we'll be right back to talk with Jen Puccini of 21 Senses. Hey, be sure to subscribe to us to get more great videos from Ron and Rich, the Cowgill brothers. They're not brothers, you know what I mean. Okay, we'll be right back.
Here I come to save the day.
The Mighty House crew is on the job. This is
Mighty House.
We're back. This is Robbie Earhart with Mighty House Home Improvement and Clutter Clarity, and what Ron likes to call Robbie's World. And today we have Jen Puccini with us. And
Hello.
Hi. She's from 21 Senses. And full disclosure, we met about 6 weeks ago, and I love what Jen does.
Thank you.
Absolutely love it. Mighty House has a history of doing good. Ron Cowgill and Rich Cowgill do great good for people. They have built homes with Habitat for Humanity.
Amazing.
They do a lot of things with that. Rich has shaved his head for St. Baldrich's Day. I ran a race for multiple sclerosis. And so as part of that history, we wanted to talk with Jen because she works with children with sensory issues.
Yeah.
And tell us about that. Tell us briefly what it is, and then we'll go to the questions.
Yeah. So what we really focus on is helping kids with, one way to say it is invisible disabilities. So a lot of kids have different diagnoses, but one of the things that unites them is their sensory sensitivities. A lot of kids with ADHD or autism or anxiety or depression, what have you, they also have sensory sensitivity issues, sometimes to the point of a disorder, other times just it's not disorder, but it's enough to affect their life. So 1 in 6 kids have enough of a sensory sensitivity where it affects their ability to participate. Yeah.
You haven't done interviews with me before, but
Yeah.
I always
Love it.
raise
Raise
my
your
hand.
Yeah.
What is a sensory sensitivity?
So think about when you go into a loud restaurant and you're trying to talk to the other person and you can't hear each other and you're totally annoyed.
Yes.
That's not necessarily a sensitivity as much as it is your preference. However, think about kids with a sensory sensitivity. That's how they're experiencing noise all the time. So sometimes they experience noise and it can feel like physical pain. I've had kids describe it as, it feels like something's poking in my ear or something poking on my brain, especially like with loud pitches a lot of times, or the noise is coming at them so fast and furious and so big and loud. It's much louder than we interpret the sound to be. And so what happens is their body gets dysregulated. If you go to a concert, when you leave that concert, are you feeling very calm and relaxed, or your brain kind of a little bit scrambled, like, oh my God, please get me to my car,
Right,
and
I
it's
need to sit
quiet.
back.
I need a moment of zen because that was too much. That's how these kinds of kids feel in lots of circumstances.
I had no idea that it was a physical pain that they felt.
It can be. Not all of them experience it as a physical pain, but the more severe they have this sensitivity, as they move towards that disability range, it can feel painful. It's not just sounds. It's really any of our 5 senses that we think about that we learned in kindergarten. But there are 3 others that you track or OTs track. And that's really
Occupational therapist.
Occupational therapist, yes. So that's really vestibular, which is balance. So proprioceptive, which is the sense of where your body is in space. Am I safe on the ground or am I on a wobbly surface? And the last one is interoceptive, which is all about your internal senses. Am I hungry? Am I thirsty? Do I have to go to the bathroom? And any of those senses, any of those 8 senses, can be over or understimulated in somebody who has a sensory sensitivity. And it can change. If you can be in one situation and you're fine, and you can be in a different situation and you get triggered, and then all of your senses are not going to be quite working correctly. Really what's happening is that for kids with sensory sensitivity, your brain thinks you're in danger. It literally is oversensitive to the stimuli. So think about a deer in a meadow. And a deer in a meadow or a rabbit in a meadow, if they hear a sound like a crunching twig, they're going to pop up and they're going to look around and they're going to see where the danger is. And if they don't see any danger, they're going to go back to eating, but now they're on heightened alert. There might be something out there and maybe I should kind of pay attention. That's kind of what's happening with sensory sensitive kids is their bodies get triggered easily to there could be danger, and therefore their brains move their brains start using the back of their brain, which is our primitive brain, the instinct, fight, flight, freeze. Because if you're in danger, you can't think about it, you just got to do, right? So you go back in that fight, flight, or freeze, and you're not in that front brain anymore. You're not thinking anymore. You're not being rational anymore. You are just prepared for the danger. So when kids are triggered, you're going to often see kids who look like they are having a meltdown.
Mm-hmm. We've all seen that.
Screaming.
You know, in Walmarts, we've seen, but not every kid who is having a meltdown in Walmart is because of sensory problems.
No, there can be other things going on. I would argue, though, this is one of our kind of tenets, is that all the things that we do for kids who have sensory issues, ultimately we're trying to help special needs kids or kids with invisible disabilities fit in or participate, be included. All the techniques that we use work for any kid, work for any person. You don't have to have a disability. You don't have to have a sensory sensitivity for these techniques to work. So even if the kid that's having the meltdown in the Walmart is not because of a sensory trigger, they are still dysregulated. And a lot of the regulation techniques can still help. Now, if it's a behavioral problem, you got to add some behavioral techniques in there. But sometimes it's also with the sensory sensitive kids. You have to, it's kind of tricky. You've got to, as a parent or a caregiver, the hardest thing to figure out is what do I do when those situations happen?
And I have just everything you're saying is leading me to more questions in my head, more questions. So your organization is 21 Senses.
Yes.
And you started about 2 years ago.
Yep.
Right before the pandemic.
4 months before the pandemic, we virtually opened our doors. Yes.
Okay. And you are trying to educate whom?
We are trying to educate all of the adults around these kids. Now, we hope that, and we do find that a lot of adults are like, does this work for adults too? Like, be more self-aware, because that's also really important. The more regulated you are, the more you can help a kid. But anyway, our main purpose is to help the adults around these kids. We want to help their parents or their their babysitters or grandparents, their whoever, to understand what the behavior they're seeing. Try to do an investigation to see what the sensory issues might be that's causing it, so we can start to either eliminate or accommodate for the sensory trigger. So the adults have control over the environment, and so we want adults to be able to control the environment better, so these kids can stay more regulated, which means they can participate more or participate for longer. So it's caretakers, parents, but it's also business owners. So we've worked with businesses on how to create a sensory room or a sensory hour for their business, or what little things can you do around your business that you can just do all the time and it's going to help somebody.
We are talking with Jen Puccini of 21 Senses, and her website is
21senses.org. So spell 21 all the way out and senses plural.org.
And how could somebody reach you?
You can reach us via social media. We're on all those social media platforms.
No, I want to reach you.
Want to reach me. So there's a phone number, which I don't know it off the top of my head.
Give us your private phone number. I'm kidding. How about an email?
Yeah. So you can email me at Jen, Jen, Puccini, Puccini, at 21senses.org. If you go to our website, our main number is on the website. I just don't call us very often. That's why I don't
That's
call it.
okay.
Sorry.
That's all right. So now we're going to get back to some more questions. So one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to Jen today is because you might be a principal of a school, you might be a parent, you might own a business, you might be in PR, you might be having a street festival. And as she says, 1 in 6 families are affected by kids with sensory sensitivities. I was going to say needs, but that's not right. And so if you are a parent, for example, Jen, how are you helping a parent?
The main thing that we're doing, there's a couple, okay. So we have parent coaching. So if you want to meet with us, whatever frequency, once a week, once a month, once a whatever, and talk about what's going on, what incidences have happened, so we can, figure out what the trigger was and figure out some potential changes to the environment or changes to the situation, so you can, it can get better and better over time. We can help coach parents that way. We also do free webinars once a month. So you can, the easiest way is probably Facebook or our website to find our webinars, and you can just tune into one of those. Even if you sign up, we'll send you the recording. Yes. You
are coaching. You are not She is not a doctor. She does not play one on TV.
Correct. I am not a doctor. My highest degree is a master's in learning sciences. So I know all about how to, learning sciences is how and why people learn. And so I think I'm a fairly decent educator, but I'm not a clinician. Yeah. So I also, what I have done is I've played this role myself. I am a mom of sensory sensitive kids. So, I've gone through this process myself. I've also done a ton of research, and, my whole gig is how to learn something, research something, and then figure out how to dissect that and teach it to other people so they can then use it and disseminate it in their way, even just using it at home or telling their neighbor about it because their neighbor is having similar problems.
What do you do in a business? I know you and I had talked about Walmart, for example, and you told me the greatest idea, which is having a card.
Yeah.
So can you explain that?
Yeah. So let's say there's a Walmart who wants to help these families. So 1, because they're being nice, or 2, because they want to make sure the mom finishes their shopping, because if the kid's having a meltdown, maybe the mom's not going to finish their shopping. So there's a couple of things a place like a Walmart could do. One thing is training. So I think the first stepping stone in all of this is empathy. So all of the adults, your staff, need to understand what might be happening when a meltdown is happening. You need to understand how the parent is probably feeling in that situation. Embarrassed, wanting to hide. Also becoming very dysregulated themselves, which the more dysregulated they get, the less they're thinking, the more they're going in their back brain. So I think first and foremost, we like to start with training. So to make sure that anybody's going to be interacting with the customers that you want to be able to help in this situation, training them on what to look for, how to help, how to approach, and to change their mindset from, look at that terrible kid who is having a fit in the aisle, and the bad mom who has taught their kid that they can get anything they want, and so if they just have a fit, they can have whatever they want in the aisle. We want the adults in the situation to get away from that mindset. Doesn't mean that doesn't happen. Doesn't mean that's not there, but it's not a helpful approach. It's not going to fix anything. So that's first and foremost, is we want to bring that empathy and that knowledge of what really could be happening so you can look at it from a different point of view. The second thing a place like a Walmart could do is they could figure out a program how to actually intervene and help the parent in that situation. So, as you said, if my kid's screaming, I might be, wanting to hide under my shirt.
Right. I might not want you to intervene.
You might not. So, you kind of got to be able, so that's part of training, right? Part of training is kind of what signals to look for to see if they're open to help, if they're not open to help. But one of the things that we've talked about is creating cards, and, each business will be different, but, I'm here to help if you need it. And you just quietly hand it to the parents and kind of walk to the end of the aisle and mind your own business. So the parent can raise their hand and say, oh, yes, please. Or they can be like, they might not even read the card because they're so overwhelmed. So I think so training is first most important. The second most important is actually not having the system of the card. The second most important thing is to have communication with your customers that you will help. So that means signs on your door that say, whatever is you want to say. We support sensory sensitivities here. Or on your receipts, there's a little thing at the bottom that says, if you ever need help, go to customer service. Whatever. Like each business is different on what you could do. But a lot of businesses, they'll not hide it. They're not trying to hide it, but it is hidden, the fact that they have help.
Do people know if I walk past a store and it says what was the language you used? We support
sensory hours or we support sensory sensitivity.
Yeah. Am I going to know what that means?
Most, I think, parents who are kind of already in the game, meaning they know that they have a kid with disabilities. They know what that is. If you are a parent new to the game, meaning you don't understand why your kid is behaving that way, and you're on the hunt for maybe something is going on, maybe something isn't, what's happening, you might not know to look for that. So again, that's why you have to really think about it, in the location, who are you trying to help, and where can you make sure that you've posted something that is going to make sense. And I do think just saying sensory sensitivities, what that does, you don't have to say the word disability, because this isn't just about being disabled. It isn't. It could be, a baby who is overwhelmed and it's gotten to be too much. That doesn't mean the baby has sensory sensitivities. It means they've had enough of your store because it's bright and it's loud and there's a lot of people, and we just need a moment to calm down. So letting people know, or the other thing, if you have a calm room, just having a sign, we have a calm room, ask an associate where to find it. Or maybe that could have been on the card.
And I know what a calm room is, but when you're talking about going into a business and advising them to have a calm room, what does that mean?
So it means that there is a quiet, comfortable space where someone can go to calm down. So one thing that often happens is that someone's like, hey, there's that broom closet we don't use. Let's take stuff out of it and put in a chair, and that's the calm room. That's not calming. Nobody's going to go sit in a closet and be calm. It has to feel like a welcoming, comfortable space for it to actually work. So that's what it is. You could have fidgets in it. There are other things you could have in the room, but it just, first of all, has to feel like a place to relax.
Jen, is there anything I missed? It's a huge, your business encompasses so much. 1 in 6 families, I mean, come on.
Yeah, no, no, you didn't miss anything. I just think, know that there are people out there that get it. And if you're struggling from either side of it, you're struggling how to figure out how to help customers like this, or you're struggling as a parent of someone like this, there are people who get it and can help you. And that's all we're here to do. We're here to help. We're here to educate. Try to make it a little bit easier.
If I didn't express that in the beginning, this is a nonprofit.
It is. Yes. So, Giving Tuesday is coming. And also, if you didn't know, the CARES Act affords people to do end-of-year giving at a higher rate this year than it has in previous years. And it was last year and it's this year. So depending on how you do your taxes, I think it's $300 extra that you can donate without itemizing this. So $600 instead of $300. I could have that a little bit wrong. Or if you do itemize, you can donate up to your whole salary. So, anybody who wants to do that, they certainly could. But, it's up to you. All you got to do is say 21 cents is this dollar amount, and that's what they put on your taxes. You're then itemizing. You can give whatever you want, and it's tax deductible. So this is a good year to give.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Thanks, everybody. See you next time. Be sure to like us, subscribe to us, follow us, email us, text us, call Ron at mightyhouse.net. Thanks so much. See you later.